It's one of the most important questions we ever ask. What will happen after we die? Is it just like a candle going out? Or is there something more beyond the grave? And how can we know? At the centre of the Christian message is the claim that Jesus rose from the dead. If he did, this means that there is life after death, and that we can know about it through him. But can we take this claim seriously? That's what these programs are about. We'll be talking to experts who've studied the historical evidence closely. But first we ask them why it matters. There are many mysterious things in the world. Perhaps the story about Jesus rising from the dead is just another event that we can't explain. What difference does it make to us today?
I think we've seen quite a cultural shift in the last generation or so from people insisting that the only things that can happen are things that we can quantify, things that we can weigh and put in balances and systems and so on, through to a much more postmodern, loose awareness that actually the world is full of very strange things. All sorts of odd things happen, and we've rather dismissed those and screened them out. And so people might well then say, so Jesus is just one guru among many, the resurrection may or may not have happened, but so what, all sorts of odd things happen. However, the Judeo-Christian scheme of thought always has been that history has been moving in a particular direction, and that there are certain things which the God who made the world and is basically steering the history, for better and for worse, wanted to happen and is causing to happen. And the early Christian claim was not, well, Jesus happened to have risen from the dead and so that was a miracle, but then there are lots of miracles, but rather that this is actually the turning point of history. This is the moment when a great door swings open that has been shut from the very beginning, because nobody has ever come back from the grave before. The Greeks and the Romans talked about people coming back from the grave as a kind of, wouldn't it be exciting if, but nobody ever actually said it had happened, and indeed many of them were quite emphatic that it couldn't and wouldn't and didn't. So when the Christians said not only that it would happen to all people in the future, but that it had happened to this one person in the middle of history, they were conscious of making, and we should be conscious that they knew they were making, the most extraordinary claim that something one-off has happened, but not as a bizarre freak accident, as it were, rather the central climactic decisive moment when the God who made the world in the first place launched his new creation. Surprisingly, a lot of Christians don't think about all that when they get to Easter Day, but that ought to be the very heart of it. This is the beginning of God's new world.
It comes as the climax to Jesus of Nazareth's own unparalleled life and ministry. This is a man who thought of himself as the Messiah long promised to Israel, as the unique Son of God, and as the Son of Man, which had been prophesied by the prophet Daniel, to whom all judgment and authority and dominion would be given. This man was crucified because of these allegedly blasphemous claims. If this man has been raised from the dead, then the God whom he had allegedly blasphemed has publicly and unambiguously vindicated those claims. So in its religio-historical context, this event is of tremendous importance.
The resurrection is not an event that hangs out there in space without any relevance. The resurrection is an event that is tied inextricably to the person of Jesus. The way the New Testament argues time and time again is because Jesus has been raised from the dead, that shows that he is who he says he is, or that shows that salvation is available, or that shows that eternal life is a reality, or that shows that believers will be raised like Jesus. So in the New Testament, over 300 verses on this topic. The resurrection is tied to almost every major area of theology and almost every major area of practice. So it's not, it's so far from not being relevant to other areas, exactly the opposite. It fuels every other area, both theoretically and practically.
I think the resurrection of Jesus from the dead is hugely significant to the foundation of the Christian faith. It was the Apostle Paul who wrote that if Jesus didn't rise from the dead, then our hope is in vain. It's significant because so much of the truth of who Christ was and who he claimed to be is staked in a historical event. And the claim is made, this actually happened, and we can know that, we can investigate whether it happened or not and draw a conclusion on the basis of evidence. So unlike lots of other religions where there's an assertion might be made that sounds very marvellous or supernatural and there's really no way of knowing whether it happened or not, in the Christian faith the assertion is that this miraculous event, the resurrection of Jesus, actually did happen in history, and we can use our minds, we can look at evidence and draw a conclusion about whether that's true or not.
Jesus rising from the dead isn't just a mystery that we can't explain. It means that God is real, there is life after death, and that we can know about it through Jesus. It confirms that Jesus is the Son of God. It's the most important thing that's ever happened, the turning point of history. But many people today think that what we know about the world scientifically rules out any possibility that Jesus rose from the dead. So next time, we'll look at the claim that science makes it impossible.